Hello, today we're going to look at a few new features in the upcoming 0.2 release of Simple IoT. The first one is the ability to more easily link nodes when creating rules. So to start off, let's create a couple variables. And let's call this var1 input. So these two variables are just kind of dummy variables that we'll use as inputs and outputs for our rules. And this will simulate a sensor or some type of I/O. It could be like a Modbus I/O or a one-wire device. But for simplicity, just for demoing the rules, we'll just create some virtual variables. Now let's create a rule. And a few conditions, or a condition. And this condition will be variable 1 is on. So for a variable condition to work, typically we have to give it a node to watch, and we identify that node by the node ID. In the past, you would copy the node and then you would use the system clipboard to paste in the node ID. But that had several issues. One is if you weren't on a secure server or localhost, then a browser won't let you copy stuff to the system clipboard for security purposes. So what we've done is when we copy a node now, so let's copy the var1 node. Well, notice at the top, we now have a clipboard, and it shows us the contents of our clipboard. So var1 is in our clipboard. And then if we go back to this rule condition, we'll now see a new line. It says paste ID for node var1 input. So if we can paste that, notice it now shows us the node ID, and it also shows it as a description of what node that is, so we can more easily know what node we're operating on. So that's now our complete condition. Let's add a few actions. Our first action is going to be to set var2. And notice that var1 is still in our clipboard, but we actually want the ID for node 2 or for var2 because that's the node we want to modify in this rule action. So let's copy var2. And notice now var2 is in our clipboard, so we can paste that condition. And then let's create another action to clear var2. So let's create an action when the rule is inactive. And let's say clear var2. Let's paste in the node ID for var2, and we'll turn it off. Okay, so now we have our rule, a condition, two actions, and again this will all operate on our variables. So notice var2 is still in the clipboard. We can clear the clipboard by just clicking on this X. So now let's set var1. And we'll notice the rule is now active, this action is now active, and for some reason var2 is not being set. Okay, I see the problem now. Instead of selecting value here, we had set value. And set value is used for things like Modbus IOs where you want to set a value and then at some point later the value will change. But in this case, since we're dealing with variables, we don't need to, we want value instead of set value. So let's save that. And now, let's see if things work a little better. So we're going to clear this. And then we're going to set the variable. Yeah, now notice that var2 turns on when var1 is on. Again, the condition is active and the set var2 action is active. Now let's clear var1, and we'll notice that var2 is now off and the clear var2 action is active. And again, this action is with the downward arrow is active when the conditions are all false, and this type of action is active when all the conditions are true. So anyway, hope that helps. One other thing we did was we highlighted active actions. So in the past the actions weren't highlighted when they were active, but since we have both set, we have actions when rules active and actions when rule inactive. Since we have both, I thought it would be easier if we highlighted which one was active. So again, if we set it, we can see that the highlighted action changes. And again, the little bit of delay we see is a front-end latency due to the polling we do. The rules actually operate very quickly on the device itself. So, hope that helps. That's the new features for v0.2. Thanks.